Good to have your own network, though. All right, you just said a mouthful that basically the video games are teaching our kids to be Pavlov's dog. I hear this from everybody. I've played video games before. I played what is it, Grand Theft Auto. I haven't stolen any cars or gone on the sidewalk and killed a bunch of people.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I never buckled my seatbelt. I'm just fine. Every kid I know never buckled their seatbelt. They're all just fine. So why should I buckle my kids up? You see, we learn. We do a better job with the next generation. We get a little wiser and a little better. It was a horrible, horrible risk for my parents not to buckle us 5 kids up. It's amazing none of us died. But it's a risk factor. And what we got to understand is that even if your child doesn't become a killer, he's a human being who is deriving pleasure from human death and suffering.
That's
one of the bad.
That's one of the things that we've been talking about. I've stopped my my whole family. We are not talking about death and destruction. We're just not going to do it. It's not good.
Yes. And let's talk about another angle. It's worse than it looks. Let's talk about the gangs out there. The number of cops murdered in the line of duty last year. Now, every year, the murder rate's being held down by medical technology. And leaps and bounds of technology is holding down the number of dead cops and tactics and training.
Okay, hang on. Let me explain it, because this is such a good point. What you just said was technology is getting better, so the number of people dying from gunshot wounds should be going down.
Way down. A UMass Harvard study came out a decade ago. If we had 1970s medical technology, the murder rate would be 3 to 4 times what it is, and that was a decade ago.
Holy cow.
Add up however many people murdered in Chicago this year, however many people murdered in your city and your state this year, multiply by at least 4, and that's how many would have died if we had 1970s technology. So
that's showing the amount of violence has gone up at least 4 times.
But the murder rate is being held down by those sneaky docs who save ever more lives.
Right.
So and the politicians take credit for it. Crime is down. What do you know? But the number of cops murdered in the line of duty. In 2008, we had 42 cops murdered in the line of duty. In 2009, it was 48 cops. In 2010, it was 56 cops. Last year, we had 72 cops murdered in the line of duty. We lost more U.S. Marshals last year than any year in the history of the Marshal Service. More Marshals murdered than the previous 10 years put together. And it was gangs. It was systematic gang murdering and assassination and execution of our cops. The gangs that declared war on our cops. The gangs of their nation. Your nation says go to Germany and kill Nazis, you do. Your nation says kill cops, and you do. The video games are the trainers. I tell my cops, I say, you know what this simulator does for you. You're in the simulator, and the bad guy does this, and boom, you shoot. Stimulus response, stimulus response. And when the bad guy does it in real life, boom, you shoot without conscious thought. You have done what we call precognitive loading. You don't even have to think. A bad guy does this, boom, I'm going to shoot. Well, they have been in their simulators. The gangbangers played Grand Theft Auto since they were 5 years old, every spare minute of every day, practicing blowing cops' heads off. Across America, we have an explosion of gang violence, and they train from their youngest days with the video games. And the gangs are our future, and the gangs weave in completely with the cartels. Glenn, you've done some pioneering work on the threat south of our border, but it's worse than it looks. The cartels are already here. The feds tell us, and the feds are undercounting the problem, the feds tell us that gang membership, criminal gang membership last year went up from 100,000 to 140,000 criminal gang members last year. Gang membership is exploding. The gangs have declared war on our cops. The video games are their trainers. The gangs are the nation, and the movies are their propaganda machine. Hollywood made propaganda movies in World War II. Here's the Nazis. They're bad guys. Here's where we got to kill them. Hollywood makes propaganda movies for the gangbangers. How many sick movies have you seen where the cops are the bad guys and the criminals are the good guys? How many sick movies have you ever seen where you walk out of the movie theater just burning with anger at the cops?
Okay, here's one thing that we talked about this morning before you came into town. And I was saying to the guys, look, because one of the guys said, hey, Glenn, I've played video games before. I said, let's go even farther than that. We used to play cops and robbers with kids, and we had guns, cap guns, and we'd bang, and we'd shoot each other. But here's the difference. The bad guys lost. It was cops and robbers, and you were very clear on who the good guys were.
And you know what else? We played Bang Bang, and I said, I got you. No, you didn't. So I smacked her with my cap gun. And you cried. And we all gathered around the hurt kid and tried to convince him not to go tell Mama. Yeah? Today, I blow my playmates' heads off and explosions of blood. Do I get in trouble? No, I get points. See, real play, and I'm a big fan of airsoft and paintball, because there's repercussions and there's discipline and it's a sport. And in real play, when somebody gets hurt, the play stops. And if you're responsible for hurting somebody, you try to convince them not to tell Mama.
I see. I was going to get, somebody said to me, get, what is the gun that shoots the little soft?
Airsoft games,
yeah,
the Nerf guns? Or?
And I said, and we play with Nerf guns, and I said, no, I don't want him shooting people. And you've almost talked me into this now.
I tell you, paintball is a sport. Airsoft is a sport at appropriate ages, and you've got to make sure you wear the eye goggles.
Yeah.
Never do it without the protection, and never do it without adequate protection.
Right.
But it's a sport with discipline and repercussions, and if you hurt somebody, the play stops.
There's no repercussions.
Absolutely. You're rewarded. Behavior that would get you in trouble anywhere else is rewarded in these games.
Okay, so you're a psych professor at West Point.
I was.
So yeah, right. So let me ask you this. The shooter, the killer, the mass murderer at Sandy Hook, he stops before the cops get to him.
Yeah.
And he kills himself.
Yeah.
And everybody says it's because he saw the cops and so he was done. Is there a chance that he has not seen reality and now boom, 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 it washes over him?
When the adrenaline surge is over. Now, they're not just condition to kill. These are not video games. They're murder simulators. They're mass murder simulators. Nobody ever picks up the video game, kills one person, and walks away. They're conditioned to kill them all. They're conditioned to keep on going until something stops you. But after they kill the last person, after there's nobody else to kill, and after reality sets in, the magnitude of the horror hits them, and the repercussions hit them. And one way to escape in many video games is to kill yourself. Many video games, the way to restart the game is when everything looks bad, kill yourself and game over.
Oh my gosh.
So number one is that the fear. This guy's going to shoot me. It will hurt. I want to stop that. Number two is the reality. It sinks in. The horror sinks in. But number three, they've been conditioned to do that. They've been conditioned to kill themselves. And when everything goes bad, game over. And so all these variables are part of the equation, without a doubt. But there's one other factor in the equation I'd like us to talk about, and that is the Arab threat. The gangs are trained on the video games. The cartels are trained on the video games. And the Islamic militants are trained on the video games.
Stop there. We're going to pick it up there when we come back.